What's up, guys? As I said many times off camera, I don't believe in tests after a long weekend. So this is going to be your review. It's 8 problems. Do it. Bring it back to me. You can use it on a test tomorrow. So your job is to factor these expressions. They either have 2 terms or 3 terms. This particular one has 2. Okay, so get those boxes set up. So GCF. I had to get my GCF calculator up. There it is. Okay, so just to show you guys, and you guys get that computer on the test, and then you see if you have a difference of perfect squares. Guys, if you don't, you don't. If you cross a box off, you cross it off, that's fine. Okay, so GCF. So remember the 3 things. Check for the negative in front, it ain't there. Check if everything has x. Well, we got x second next to the 5 and an x to the first next to 30. So you bet everything has x. So I need to take the x that's to the smaller of the 2 powers. And then GCF, calculate your numbers, 5 and 30. And the GCF for that is 5. Okay. Okay, so 5x to the first power needs to come out here in a parentheses. And then I put 5x to the first, 5x to the first. Now remember, when you're dividing, you just divide the numbers. 5 by 5, that's 1. And then on x, you subtract the exponents. 2 minus, don't divide the exponents. The exponents, the little guys, get subtracted. That's x to the first. Then I take negative 30. If it's minus, it's negative. Divided by 5 is negative 6. So now if I got negative, I'm going to write minus 6. Then I don't need to do anything with these x's because they're both to the same power. Okay, now dots. Remember how to do that. Check for the x. And by the way, after your GCF's done, get rid of that. So you're looking at these 2 things, okay, in here. Not out there either. Okay, first you got to check for your x to the second. That x is not to the second. This is not possible then. The factoring is done right here, okay? That's the answer. Now, if you have 1 powers, it has to be a 1 power, you cross them out, okay? Because they shouldn't be there for what we're going to do after this test. Okay, now the next one, how many terms do I have? Well, 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 terms. So 3 terms GCF. And then the T-chart. Don't make the parentheses till the T-chart's done. Just don't do that. It's not a good idea. Okay, so the GCF, same order. Do you have the negative in the front? Don't have it. Check everything has x. So I got x second connected to the 1. I've got x to the first connected to the 9. But I don't have an x connected to 18, so I can't put x. Now GCF, calculate 1, 9, and 18. Again, news flash, whenever 1 is one of the numbers I punch in, then the GCF's 1. And if we just have a GCF of 1 with nothing else, that means we're not going to do it. Okay, so we don't cross this out because I need that. Okay, now I label A, B, C, and I take positive 1 times positive 18. It's positive 18. Okay, we got positive, so that means this is an add problem to try to equal 9, and 9 is a negative, okay? So 1, remember you're dividing 18 by the numbers. 18 divided by 1 is 18, but 18 plus 1 is 19. Okay, I don't have 19 there. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, so it's not either one of those. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9, so I have found the 2 factors. Now they have to be signed correctly. You take, since this 9 is negative, then the larger factor has to be a negative. And since I have a positive product with that 18, that means the signs have to be the same. So the same as a negative would be another negative. Now, a equals 1x to the second, okay? So since it's 1, I make 2 sets of parentheses. And I'm going to go 1, 1. Don't put x second, x second. You're breaking the x to the second up, so it's x, x. And minus 3, minus 6. Okay, now try to divide those down. The GCF of 1 and 3, you can't do negative. It won't let you do it. It's 1. So dividing them by 1 just keeps it the exact same. Okay. So 1 and 6, the GCF is 1 again. So again, dividing by 1 just keeps it the same. Now you need to look up here for the GCF, but I didn't do that box, so I don't have to carry anything down here. What I put in here technically goes down here, but since I don't have anything, that's the answer. 1x minus 3 times 1x minus 6. Cross those top 2 parentheses out after you've divided. Okay, now for the third one. I've got 2 terms this time. So we're doing GCF DOPS. Now obviously with 2 terms you can't make the table because you don't have an A, a B, and a C. You just have an A, and that's a C, not a B. Okay, B has to have x to the first behind it. And we have DOPS. That's a horrible box. Okay, so GCF. Do we have the negative in front? Check for negative in front. It's not there. Check if everything has x. That has x a second. That doesn't have an x at all, so I don't put x. Now, GCF calculator, 4 and 49. Okay, I just get 1. So remember, if the GCF's 1, this is a waste. Okay, and that's fine. Just at least you have it there and you run through it. Now do the DOPS, okay? You check for x to the second power. Now, I don't have anything here, so I look up here. My x is to the second still, so I put x, x. Now, is the second number negative? Well, 49 is the second number, and it looks like it's negative to me. Now turn this paper over and see if the numbers are perfect. Well, 4 is perfect because 2 times itself is 4, so 2x, 2x, and 49 is perfect because 7 times itself is 49, so 7, 7. Now, look up there. There was no GCF to put down here, so this is the answer. 2x plus 7 times 2x minus 7. Okay, fourth one, 7x to the power of 2 minus 17x. Plus 42, that's 3 terms. Okay, so 3 terms is GCF, and then my table. Well, I'm doing a bad job drawing the second box. Okay, so flip this bad boy back over. Check for the negative in front, it's not there. Check if everything has x, so that has x second. That has x to the first. That doesn't have x. So since that number has no x, we can't put x there. So GCF calculator, 7, 17, and 42. I got 1. Okay, if the GCF's 1, don't do it. Okay, so we have to ABC from the top. Whoops, sorry, you got to help me out here. This should not be a 42. This should be a 6, okay? I screwed that up, okay? That should not be a 42. It should be 7, 17, and 6. Okay, that's a 1, okay? I messed that up. Okay, just cross out 42 and put 6. Okay, so A to C. I was going to say 7 times 42 is an insanely high number. I wrote the problem wrong. 7 times positive 6 is positive 42. So I have 42, which is positive. So it's another add to try to make 17, which is negative. Okay, remember, we're dividing 42 by these numbers. 42 divided by 1 is 42, but 42 plus 1 is not 17, it's 43. out. Now if I put 2, I would divide 42 by 2, so I didn't get a decimal, so I write 2 down, and then the answer I got. Now add these two. 21 plus 2 is 23. 42 divided by 3, okay? 3, 14. And also, if you get a decimal, you skip it, go to the next number. Is 14. Now 14 plus 3 is 17. So we have found the two factors. Now if 17 is negative, so that means 14 is negative. And we have a positive up there, so that means the signs have to be the same. So what's the same as a negative? Well, that'd just be another negative. So A, where I labeled A, I have 7x to the second. So again, when I make my parentheses, I put 7, 7, x, and x. Not, okay? And then minus 3, minus 14. Okay, now GCF calculates 7 and 3. I got a GCF of 1, okay? So dividing by 1 leaves it the same. 7 and 14, those better have a GCF. That's 7, okay? So that's 7 divided by itself is not 0. Quit putting 0 on dividing. That's 1. 1x. And then I divide negative 14 by 7. I get negative 2. So I put 2 minus, okay? Was there a GCF up here? No, it was 1, so I didn't do it. So I don't have to put anything down here. So it's 7x minus 3 times 1x minus 7. If you rainbow those out and do blank x squared plus blank x plus blank, I guarantee you end up with these 3, okay? You're doing the opposite of the rainbows. Okay, now these next batch is a little bit tougher. That's 2 terms. So it's greatest common factor. And then I see if I'm able to find a difference of perfect squares. D adopts. Okay, so our GCF, got to really be careful here. Check for the negative in the front. It's there, so our GCF has to be negative. Check if everything has x. Now that has x a second. That does not have x, so I will not be dividing by x. Okay, now GCF calculator, your 5 and 125, and see what you can divide those by. Looks like it's 5. So negative 5 is the GCF. So it is not just a 1. I need to do this. So negative 5. Then I put negative 5, but you notice how I'm not putting an x under there. So this x stays to the second power when I write it down. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is 1, but the x remains to its power since I'm not dividing by x. There's no power down there to subtract. And then in the second one, I take positive 125 divided by negative 5, and I get negative 25. So I put 25 with a minus sign. Now cross that crap out, and now see if you have these two make adopts. You're not up there anymore. After you've done the GCF, now these are the two new ones. The second parentheses has what you're looking for. Okay, so check for x to the second. It's there. So x, x. Okay, is your second number negative? 25 is the second number. It's negative. Okay, so I keep looking. Turn this paper over and see if they're perfect. Remember, I'm looking at 1 and 25. I don't give a crap about 5. He's out. 1 is 1, 1. So 1x, 1x. And 25 is perfect because he's 5 and 5. So 5, 5. Now, in this one you did have a GCF, so you just put him down here in front of the two parentheses. So negative 5 times the parentheses 5, 1x plus 5 times parentheses 1x minus 5. If I made you multiply that out, things would add to 0 and come up here. Okay, my next problem. How many terms? Looks like 3 this time. GCF. And then my t-table. So the GCF, we do not have the negative in the front, okay? So we can just disregard that part. Now, check if everything has x. 3 has x to the second. Negative 6 has x to the first. Negative 45 has nothing, so we don't put x. Then we roll with 3, 6, and 45. I got a 3 GCF. Not 3x, so it's just 3. Okay? How are you going to put an x there when 45 doesn't have an x? So these x's will keep the same power since I'm not putting an x down here. Okay? So I divide 3 by 3, that's 1. And the x to the second stays on the 1. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2, so minus 2, and x to the first stays on the 2. Then I take negative 45 by 3, and that's negative 15, so minus 15. Get rid of that, because now the ABC is run from here, okay? Not up here. I've rewritten this. Okay, now A times C. It's going to be positive 1 times negative 15. That's a negative. So since I got a negative, I'm going to minus. And that minus needs to give me 2, which is negative. Okay? So remember, divide 15 by these. I'm just making a swing. 15 divided by 1 is 15, but is 15 minus 1 2? I don't think so. 15 divided by 2 is a decimal, so skip it, go to 3. 3 and 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. I got it. Okay, now the negative 2 means our 5 here is negative, and having a negative product means these signs are the opposite. So the opposite of a minus would be a plus. Okay, now A. This is why you cross this crap out, because your A is not 3. Your A is 1x to the second. Okay? So I will go 1x, 1x, and then plus 3 minus 5. So you can GCF 1 and 3. I'm going to tell you it's going to be 1, so it's not going to change it. It's 1. So that stays 1x plus 3. 1 and 5. Remember, it doesn't let you do negative. You just put 1 and 5. You get 1. Okay, now look at your GCF box. You have a 3 outside. I want to see the 3 down here. So the factorization is 3 times 1x plus 3 times 1x minus 5. That's 3 factors. Okay, last 2. This is your note sheet you can use. I threw the other ones away, okay, because I didn't want to give a test. I don't want to overwhelm you with just a crap load. This is good enough, okay? Okay, 2 terms. Okay, GCF DOPS. So the GCF, check for the negative in the front. It ain't there. So we're not going to put negative on whatever's there. Check if everything has x. We have to the second and then nothing. Okay, so no x. Now GCF calculate 2 and 18. Okay, it appears I get 2. So it's not a 1. I need to do it. So 2 goes out, but not just 2, not 2x. Okay, this doesn't have x, so you just go 2. Now keep in mind, 2 divided by 2 is 1, but I'm not putting an x down here, so this x keeps its power of 2. Then I take negative 18 divided by 2, which is negative 9, so I put minus 9 and cross that out. I don't want to look at that anymore. Because when I'm looking for my DOPS, my difference of perfect squares, I want to look at these, not up here. these two. Okay, so check for x to the second. It's there. Is the second number negative? The 9, sure it is. Turn this paper over and see if the numbers are perfect. Okay, so 1's perfect, and that's 1 times 1. And 9's perfect, because that's 3 times 3. Now, just about got this whip. You just got to remember you have had a 2 out there. Okay, so I need to drop that down, because that's part of the factoring. Can't leave him out of the party. Again, this became these two, okay? It's just, this has been rewritten. It's like this like turned into a monster, these two. But that one here, he's just innocent. He stays right there. Okay, last one, 15x to the second minus 6x minus 21. Okay, that's 3 terms. So I'll be making the GCF, followed by my table. GCF, check for the negative in the front. It's not there. Check if everything has x. X second on 15. X first on negative 6. Then negative 21 doesn't have an x. Okay, so we can't do x. Now let's see if we can do 15, 6, and 21 and come up with the greatest common factor. I got 3. Okay, but 3, you don't put 3x because that 21 didn't have x. Everything has to have x up here for you to put x. So 3. So I'm dividing by 3. The x's are going to keep their powers. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, and that x stays to the second. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2, and that x keeps its first. Negative 21 divided by 3 is negative 7, and that's not going to have anything. Okay, now cross that out because I don't want to look at that no more. Because when I do my ABC, it's with 5, negative 2, negative 7. Okay, so I multiply positive 5 by negative 7. So I got negative 35. So because I got a negative, the way to go is to minus. The minus needs to equal 2, and we know that 2 is negative. So remember, it's dividing. So 1. 1 and 35. 35 minus 1 is not 2. Okay, now divide 35 by 2. That's a decimal. Skip it. Divide 35 by 3. That's a decimal. Skip it. Now go to 4. Decimal. Skip it. Now go to 5. Okay, I got that. So I put 5 in the answer I got, and then see if 7 minus 5 is 2, which I indeed believe it is. Okay. Now 2 being negative like it is means my larger factor is negative. And when I have a negative product up top of my chart, negative 35, okay, the signs have to be the opposite. So the opposite of a negative is a positive. One thing I haven't been really telling you a lot, you can always check your answers here. If you times these, positive 5 by negative 7, it should be the number up top with the right sign, 35 negative. Now if you plus these, it should equal negative. I know it said we were minusing, but if you always add these, positive 5 plus negative 7, it should add up to whatever's there. So I'm pretty confident I did this right. Now A, here's where my A is at. It's over the 5, so 5x to the second. And that means we make the 4 parentheses. We start with 5, and then plus 5 minus 7. Now the reason I have to keep going, so I have 5 and 5. That's 5. So I divide these down by 5, and that's 1x plus 1. Okay. And then 5 and 7 give me a 1 GCF. And dividing by 1 just keeps it at the same factor. Okay.